Hi, am I live right now? Okay, amazing. Thank you all for having me here. My name is Irene and I'm the head of strategy at LayerZero Labs. I am so honored that for the Women of the Future event series, they invited me to come speak on the Web3 day for you all. And so I'm going to run through some quick slides, but mainly I'm here to share more about my experiences as a woman in the industry and also specifically what's exciting in Web3 and crypto. So opportunities in Web3, there's so much you can do across the entire stack. I personally am building within the infrastructure layer. LayerZero Labs is the leading omni-chain interoperability protocol across Web3, but has use cases even beyond that. The best way to think about what we've built is that it is TCP/IP for blockchains. TCP/IP is the internet protocol that allowed for the intranet to scale to become the internet and thereby enabled communication between different servers all around the world. In the case for blockchain, individual chains are siloed and there's no way to communicate in a trust minimized and decentralized way. And so when I say communicate, what I mean are send packets of information. This could be a message that mutates metadata for an asset on a different chain. It can be a transfer of funds. It's really just arbitrary contract invocation. And this has implications for DeFi protocols, NFT projects, games, like I said, TradFi, enterprise as well. For those who are interested in working in Web3, whether it be building your own company or protocol or joining a project, I think the most enticing way to contribute is around improving end user experience. We talk a lot about onboarding the next billion users. Right now, we're really siloed to maybe 100,000 power users. These are people who we call quote unquote crypto native. But to actually onboard new people like my mother, your grandfather, your childhood best friend, people who have only ever seen headlines about crypto that are very alienating, we need to lower the barrier to entry and make onboarding systems as smooth as the best Web2 app you've ever used. Create a lot of discipline around churn in protocol design, and then also abstract away the complexity of multiple chains. And that's exactly where LayerZero comes in and empowers developers to do just that. For my own experience, I have been interested in and involved in trading crypto for several years, but it was only around 2 years ago that I went back and read white papers, which for our industry are essentially like manifestos and technical specs for particular technological innovations or companies. And from there, I delved into the particular problem of cross-chain infrastructure. Then I vetted that space just like I would as an investor, and through narrowing down the different projects, found LayerZero and interviewed and joined. It's been more than a year now. And I encourage everyone in the audience who is excited about crypto to take the same approach to their process. This is LayerZero. Like I said, it's the leading omni-chain interoperability protocol, and it enables seamlessly connected blockchains. LayerZero is solving this problem of communication between different chains, and why does that ultimately matter? Well, one, the end user experience to date has been the largest hindrance to more adoption, and by eliminating the complexities, which also involve uh, usage issues such as requiring multiple gas tokens to interact with a particular chain, users can then actually access the value that they're trying to access through an application that leverages blockchain technology. What I mean by this is when you use an app or you decide to download something or you even do something that's entirely non-digital, it's usually because there is some value that you get from that. Maybe it's enjoyment, maybe it's to learn something new, maybe it's to accrue wealth by using a financial product, for example. Every step that a user has to take that blocks them from actually accessing that value is a higher likelihood that the user churns and never actually uses your product. So interoperability matters because it unifies the access to high value projects and liquidity elsewhere into one application, and it empowers developers to do exactly that. The composability piece is also important. What you build in one ecosystem should have meaning in a different one. And it should be easy for developers and users to combine other primitives and other products that have been built into exactly what they're building. So that ultimately is why interoperability matters. Building a team, I have had a huge uh, privilege to be a part of the leadership team at LayerZero Labs. When I joined, we were around 20 people. It was mostly engineers. Today, we are nearly 60 people, and we have a full-fledged marketing function, developer relations function, BD function, in addition to our front-end and back-end teams, the strategy team, and also the special projects team. And so I think one of the primary learnings I have taken away from this past year of massive growth is to truly hire for culture and aptitude. And I think previously, having advised founders, uh, I noticed teams over index on past qualifications. For example, they were ex Stripe or ex Facebook. And while that's a really useful tool for filtering out initial candidates, and if you've built something really exciting, you will have many of that inbound and need to narrow scope. What we have found is the highest impact players we've brought on were often very hungry, very hardworking, humble, kind, fit in with what the sort of core values are as humans of the founding team, uh, but mostly were individuals who demonstrated their ability to learn quickly and consume knowledge, driven by their own desire to grow. There are some interesting questions that you can ask in an interview process to index on this. However, I think spending time in person with these particular candidates is one of the most important ways to do this. We're flying through a bunch of slides here, and if there was the ability to do Q&A, I would love that. For building a brand, LayerZero was designed as a protocol, or the technology in itself, around three core principles. These three principles are, very specific to the tenets and ethos of the original Ethereum community, and broadly adopted across Web3. However, have a lot of meaning for those who are also interested in building SaaS businesses or other kinds of tech businesses. The very first one is permissionlessness. The second one is censorship resistance. And the third one is immutability. Rather than diving into exactly what each of those three principles mean, what I think has generated a lot of success for us at LayerZero Labs was the anchoring in three core principles in the actual design process of our technology. Oftentimes I see companies only after the fact, after they've built their core product, decide what their company values are and retrofit it into what they've built. But by baking it into the technology in a way that is entirely permanent, we are grounded around that, and actually our success is married to our ability to uphold those values as operators in the space, but also the integrity of the technology itself. Fundraising. I get asked so often about this since LayerZero announced its Series B fundraising several months ago and made headlines because it was the only crypto company in the space to uh, reach a valuation in the billions in this bear market. Most recently, we closed our Series B at a $3 billion valuation. Our Series A was at a $1 billion valuation, and previously the seed round was, I believe, at a $50 million valuation. We have been really pleasantly surprised to see that there is still appetite from investors in the space. And I think what has helped a lot with our ability to convey our narrative and story is, again, an actual founding story that was rooted in a real problem for our three founders. They had originally wanted to build a game, and they wanted to build a game on a particular chain that lacked the feature set and liquidity that they needed from, or that existed in a different ecosystem. They explored the quote unquote bridges that existed at the time and realized that as a developer, there was no adequate tool for them to use. Originally, they were going to build a bridge, but from then realized that the more interesting layer in that stack was the messaging protocol underneath the bridge that could enable them to achieve exactly what they needed to build this product. And that messaging layer, they realized, is what could uh, capture all of the value of a world in which blockchain has penetrated our technology stack, but also that there are multiple chains and an urgent need for the interoperability and composability I spoke to before. So that's been incredibly important in our fundraising process. And I think the authenticity of our founders and also the members of leadership who've been involved in fundraising contributed quite a bit to this, particularly as there's so much scrutiny around the integrity of leadership teams in crypto. And I am really optimistic that this next wave of innovation in this space will bring in a breath of fresh air and also more founders who are women. I can't stress this enough. And I was speaking on a podcast yesterday and said to the woman interviewing me that the best engineers I've ever met in my life were women. When I was at Harvard studying computer science, those who got the highest marks in each of these courses were women. The best biz dev people I know in crypto are women. The best marketing leaders I know are women. And so I want to see more founders in this space. And I have all the reason and confidence to believe that the best companies across Web3 will be founded by women as well. So that leads me to my last slide, and one where I actually want to dwell a little bit longer, which is my experience as a woman in the space. I have a background that actually has required me to be in male-dominated environments. I started my life actually training as a high-performance athlete on a men's sports team. I was a coxswain for men's rowing, which meant that I was the in a sense, extension of our coach within a boat of 8 rowers, all of whom were men. And through that experience, gosh, I learned so much about articulation, around self-respect, around commanding a space, and also around how to collect disparate individuals around one particular goal and provide feedback and empathy, really, a sport and empathy to achieve that goal together. From there, I think the next male dominated environment I spent a significant amount of time in was venture capital. And one of the firms that I worked for was largely men from an economics background and a sort of elite prestigious university background as well. In this environment, all the lessons I learned as a coxswain for a men's rowing team really came through. And I was quite fortunate to enter spaces and fully believe that I deserved to be there. And now at LayerZero on the leadership team, it's so important that I create an environment where women who join the company believe that they have earned their right and they can dissent as much as our co-founders and our male peers can as well. Uh, LayerZero is a really special place because it was the first work environment I joined where I believed and felt so viscerally every day that I didn't need a strategy to succeed as a woman. And for all of you who are founders, even as a woman, there's an active role we have to play in our recruiting processes to encourage women to join and also to mentor them ourselves. If you're joining a company in Web3, I really encourage you to diligence for what the working environment is and what kinds of premiums this leadership team puts on particular uh, values and behaviors and ways of communicating and conveying dissent, which I think is so important for reaching ground truth and producing excellent products and outcomes. And then finally, I think female friendships are so essential to the growth of our industry and also leadership of women in our industry. I owe so much to my friends who I've met over the last few years who are leading biz dev at DeFi protocols and who are making crypto investments at crypto funds. And I consider them to be personal friends, 1 a.m. calls. Start there and then lean into all of the learning opportunities. What I want to emphasize before I close here is that I am always a resource for women who are in the audience and interested in crypto, Web3, DeFi, engineering. Reach out to me. You can DM me on Twitter at Irene Lu 27, and definitely don't hesitate to reach out to others as well. Thank you so much for having me here and enjoy the rest of the amazing speakers who are coming on.